Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another Recapisode. This one's a little delayed. Health reasons, I guess you could say. And so, just a little bit of something to get you caught up in case you missed this last session. We finally made it back to the creepy giant corpse tower thing that apparently is largely responsible for the barrier, the magical barrier around all of the province of Mariporta that we're in right now. And it took us a long time to get in. It was like this giant door made of like black metal and everything, like I don't know, Dimmu Borgir and Immortal and such like. Oh, wrong kind of black metal. It's metal that just happened to be black. At least if I remember right. And there was like these skeletons that were like reaching out and whatnot, like away from the tower and everything. And we were all trying all sorts of different things. Jayag used that disguise hat of his to turn into a turtle skeleton, and tried to like talk and intimidate his way in. It was actually very convincing, but hilarious at the same time. And Alan was checking under the door and everything to see if anything was going on there, and finding out that touching the door actually caused like a chill to go over his arms. It didn't actually cause any real damage, but it was cold. Unless, I touched it. Unless Sherzim happened to touch it, because he is already dead. So he doesn't actually get to feel those kind of things. So after a lot of back and forth, I eventually just started asking, which way does this door open? Can we figure it out? So there's some investigation rolls. I finally determined that these outstretched hands, we finally found out that these outstretched hands were actually like a pull knob to open the door outwards. And successful strength check on Sherzim's part later, everybody managed to get in. And then we found ourselves trying to sneak up on some creature that was in the lower part of the tower. We found there was no way to go up anyway, so we decided to just go down. And it resulted in a pretty nasty fight in which, Zalid, our resident assassin, managed to fall into a spiked pit and impale his leg, which he pretty much spent the entire fight in there. Everybody else was trying to fight these really nasty ghoul things off that our DM must have found in this freaking ginormous like third-party monster manual. That thing's like takes up half the screen. It seems like when he's holding it, sideways. It's massive. And in the midst of this fight, I'd actually decided to conserve spell use for pretty early in, and it just kind of seemed like it would make sense for Sherzim to try and pull Zalid out of the pit. He tried. It didn't work out quite so well. He almost fell in, and eventually, after the fight was over, Jag had to help out, and eventually Zalid got out. Everybody's healing spells were expended, and after some exploration, we found some more healing potions, some really nice ones, and wound up using them all up, pretty much all of them up. When we found this torture chamber that we thought Beheshtra was in, but it turned out it was the Oni that had captured him and just impersonating him. And we eventually were able to actually free Beheshtor, eventually convince him that it actually was us. We weren't there to torture him, but we were actually there to rescue him. In fact, after this session, I think even a few times during the session, Brett was even saying, if any of this kind of thing happens to Beheshtor again, the character's going to have to be retired. There's just no reason for him to keep going if he keeps getting captured and tortured like this. I mean, he's like a shell of who he used to be, pretty much. It's so crazy. I mean, we're only level 4 and this kind of stuff is happening to us. What's the deal? What's up with that? And so we finished the session with just some exploration and deciding to find somewhere to take a short rest so we could recover. That was kind of the big gist of it there. We finally got about everybody back in the party back together in various states of health, physical and mental and emotional. I guess the other thing is, with all the blood in the torture chamber, also happened to really set Sherzim off, and he actually had to step out for a bit. Vampire stuff. I was really looking forward to getting rid of that, which I kind of want to tell you how that panned out, because we kind of posted that bit in Discord where I actually found out how to, a way that could cure his vampirism. I'm kind of just wanting to hold that off until, everybody else finds out about it. I may have only briefly mentioned a quick little thing about it, and then we just went on with with whatever was happening. So, that's a big thing there. So, a couple of things that I wound up doing in this adventure a little differently, in this session a little differently, was, for one, something I guess I've actually been getting a lot better at without really realizing it, was, asking the right questions, or just asking questions in general, trying to get whatever information you can out of the GM or the DM on how to proceed, how to solve the challenges they've put before you. And, our DM loves that. Most of them actually, I think it's pretty safe to say that all of them do. There might be some that'll be like just really tight-lipped about these things, but they're probably the kind that it's not going to have, a group to play with after a while. So if you're a DM or a GM, encourage questions, reward the asking of questions with, the pertinent information and everything. Maybe a little extra if the dice rolls are not good. Players, do the asking. It's not going to hurt you. And the other thing I just did a little differently was making choosing an action in combat that wasn't necessarily hurt the other guy or, heal your buddies. It was just, helping Zulid out of the pit. Tickle in the throat. As one thing to keep in mind is this isn't like a video game where they're pretty much slugging it out and throwing spells and arrows and all sorts of other stuff until somebody dies. There are all kinds of other options for you to be taking during combat. All depending, it might be more practical for the rogue to try and pick locks than to try and sneak attack. You see that quite a bit in Critical Role, and you can actually see a fair bit of the cast Critical Role doing very, sometimes making very making decisions in combat that don't yield any immediate benefit to the situation, but it just would fit the character. It would fit. It just works better for the situation than anything else that they could be doing. Ooh, another tickle. Hold on. So, those are the things you could be trying, asking questions and even considering, if it seems to fit with the situation of the character, doing something that's not just strictly trying to deal damage or, something that's not directly affecting health or effectiveness of anybody that's actually in the combat. Options are limitless, so explore them. That's all I have for this week. So until next time, happy gaming and enjoy the road to legendary, which I really just don't even feel like trying to define what that is anymore. It's probably different for everybody. So, yeah. Just have fun with the game and making whatever game you're involved in and making a good story out of it. See you next week.